So, I'm going to talk a little bit about my case study. My case study looked at the managerial leadership topics of scheduling as well as professional development. I also touched on some aspects of teacher satisfaction and retention. So, my case study takes place in Coastal Elementary, which is a coastal K-5 elementary school. It follows the new assistant principal, Miss Stank, as she kind of navigates the different things of this new school. The school has a very diverse population, and last year they went from being a B school to a C school because they did not make adequate growth. So those are kind of the context about how this case study starts. This case study is complex as it follows not only Ms. Dank as the new assistant principal, but it also includes perspectives from other teachers. A veteran teacher, Miss Wolf, and her concern about the new professional development, Mr. Hall, who was excited but also heard Miss Wolf talking about the new assistant principal in the teacher workroom, and a new teacher, a beginning teacher, who was a little bit concerned about having teachers coming and observing her in her classroom, feeling like she was going to be critiqued and not really have anything to help the teachers, improve that have already been there. So in this new professional development initiative that Miss Stank and Miss Marcy, the principal, came up with, they were having teachers split up into teams and go and observe each other during a common planning period. So something that they had taken into consideration when they were making the master schedule was what this school improvement team told them was that teachers really wanted a common planning period for the other teachers in their grade so they could plan, they could have meetings, they could do things together and collaborate. So the principal and assistant principal made that happen. And now in their new professional development, they were going to have teachers go and observe each other twice a month using a Google form that they came up with, and the teachers would be observing active engagement strategies and looking for student engagement to hopefully boost student achievement. That didn't happen the previous year. So Ms. Dank was really excited about this, but when she went to present it at the first staff meeting, Miss Wolf was very vocal and she was very against it. So, you hear these kind of different perspectives, not only in the staff meeting, but also through email and some email exchanges. This case is very ambiguous as depending on whose perspective you're looking at, you're going to see different sides of that story. So you can understand from the teacher's perspective, being a little bit from a new teacher's perspective, being a little bit nervous about teachers coming in and observing you. You can also understand Miss Wolf. She finally got that common planning period, and now she's asked to give it up twice a month so that she can go observe other teachers where she doesn't feel like she really needs to do that. However, also from Ms. Dank's perspective, she's coming in and she gave the teachers what they wanted. She also looked at the teacher working condition survey where the teacher said that, the professional development wasn't relevant to them and it wasn't really helpful for them. So she knew she wanted to do something new for professional development. She thought that she was kind of killing two birds with one stone by having them, have that planning period, but also be able to observe each other so they could grow in their teaching practices. So depending on whose perspective you look at, you can see kind of which way they would want it to go. This case study is relevant because all school administrators have to come up with a master schedule that not only takes into consideration the teachers' perspectives, but also make sure that you have that blocked out instructional time. So this can be a very challenging part of being a school administrator. It's also relevant because teachers and school administrators have to make sure they're continually growing, and it's up to the school administrators to make sure that the professional development is relevant and is going to be productive to help teachers grow in their craft of teaching. So as we go through this new professional development initiative, Ms. Dank is hoping that it will help boost student achievement that wasn't there last year. During the resolution, I focused a lot on the research and how the research gives some best practices for scheduling, especially with that common planning period, which they put into effect. It also talked a lot about professional development and the different types of professional development being formal and informal. The formal professional development would be more of book studies and seminars, whereas informal is more through PLCs and peer observations. So that is kind of the route that Ms. Stank took, since a lot of teachers said they weren't satisfied with the professional development that they have received in the past. So she was trying something new to see if she could spark, some engagement in those teachers. Additionally, through the research, it talked a lot about how professional development and having your voice be heard through that teacher working condition survey is something that's going to boost teacher satisfaction and therefore, your positive school culture. So, making sure that teachers feel like their opinions are heard by administration is something that really has teachers feeling like they're valued, and it will also create the sense of community. So finally, in that resolution, it talked a lot about in the research about how collaboration and building a sense of community was something that was going to help teachers feel more satisfied in their job and therefore want to stay in teaching. So through this new professional development, Miss Stank thought all these teachers, instead of just being talked at, they were going to work together to improve and, kind of go into their classrooms and see the great things that were happening in their school and therefore be able to use it in their own classroom as well. So through that resolution, we looked at the research that said how collaboration and building collaboration and community helps teachers really enjoy their job and therefore want to stay as a teacher. Some of my key takeaways were about scheduling best practices, also about using data to drive what you're doing and what you're planning as a school administrator, that looking at teacher working condition survey, but also at the growth data from the previous year can really help you kind of give the rationale behind your change and what you're doing for teachers as the school administrator. I also think that if you keep the idea of student achievement and trying to boost student achievement and engagement at the forefront of everything that you do, that's going to help teachers get more on board. But mostly that you want to really create a sense of community and a really positive school culture by having teachers collaborate with one another and also feel like their voices are being heard, even if, like with Miss Wolf, her voice was an oppositional voice. So at the end of the case study, Miss Stank is going to talk to Miss Wolf because we all know that it's so important for all teachers to feel like their opinions matter, and also to make sure everyone is engaged into their professional development, because if they're not, they're not even going to begin, let alone have a success in that. So I had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you guys did too.